This one had a bit of everything: danger, betrayal, a marriage on the rocks, and a money fight that just refuses to die down. Let's get straight into it, because there is a lot to unpack. We open with Zethu still on her mission. She has not let go of the story she has been chasing about the strange medical operation running out of Ikembini, and today she takes her investigation to Durban to try and get answers straight from the people connected to it. She wants to know exactly what this so-called big operation is, who is funding it, and why it suddenly appeared with a name that sounds oddly familiar to her, Manzibuko. The moment she hears that name mentioned in connection with the clinic, something clicks. She has heard it before, and not in a good context. Zeta starts putting the pieces together in her head. If this name is tied to the clinic, and this name is also tied to people close to her own family, then there is a real chance that someone she trusts might be far more involved than they have let on. That someone is Shobane. Convinced she is onto something, Zeta goes straight to Shobane and puts the question to him directly: how exactly is he connected to Shwabi and to this Manzibuko operation? She does not hold back. She wants him to admit, right there, whether he has been part of something illegal. Shobane, as expected, denies everything. He refuses to confess to anything and insists that Zethu is chasing shadows, that she has got the wrong idea entirely. But Zethu is not the type to be talked out of her instincts. She tells him plainly that she is not going to drop this, she is going to go and find the evidence herself, with or without his help. She storms off, leaving Shobane rattled, because he knows better than anyone that she is not bluffing. This is where the episode takes a darker turn. Once Zethu is out of the room, we see just how deep Shobane's involvement with Shwabi and the operation really goes. Shwabi is done playing games, he has decided that Zethu has become too much of a liability. She knows too much, and if she is allowed to keep digging, she could expose everything they have built. So the decision is made: Zethu needs to be silenced, permanently. For Shobane, this is the moment everything gets complicated. Whatever he has done, whatever he is mixed up in, he still clearly has a soft spot for Zethu. He is not willing to simply stand by and let her be hurt. That inner conflict is written all over him, caught between protecting the operation that has clearly made him a lot of money, and protecting a woman he genuinely cares about. Meanwhile, over at the police station, Goroji is putting pressure on Shobane directly, demanding to know where Zethu is. Shobane still refuses to come clean, but away from the police, he tells Shwabi in no uncertain terms that they cannot afford to let Zethu disappear and expose the whole operation, not because he suddenly grew a conscience in front of the law, but because he understands the risk of getting caught spirals out of control if she is harmed. We also see Maankobo drawn into this thread. Her husband has clearly been acting strange, and it becomes obvious to her that he does not want Zethu to be found, even though there is already a search party actively looking for her. Maankobo starts to suspect that her husband is hiding something significant, and she begins working with Goroji to try and track Zethu down herself. It is a tense, quietly powerful subplot, a wife realizing her husband may be protecting something far darker than she imagined, and choosing to side with the truth instead of covering for him. The biggest question hanging over the whole episode is simple: will Shobane actually save Zethu, or will his loyalty to Shwabi and the operation win out? Right now, it genuinely could go either way. He seems willing to help her, but nothing is guaranteed, and the episode is careful not to hand us an easy answer. We get more glimpses into just how organized and ruthless this illegal operation actually is. There is talk of needing specific equipment and setting up sessions to perform whatever it is they are running, and it is becoming clearer that this goes far beyond a simple scam. This looks like an illegal harvesting operation, run with cold efficiency, and Shobane, whatever his personal feelings, has clearly been a willing participant for money. The episode does not shy away from showing how deep his involvement runs, even as it tries to humanize him through his concern for Zethu. There is a real sense of dread building here. Dr. Zethu, as she is referred to at one point, has already proven she is a serious threat to this operation simply by asking the right questions. The people running this clinic know that if she keeps investigating, their whole illegal enterprise could come crashing down, and that makes her a target in a way that feels genuinely dangerous, not just dramatic filler. On another front, the fallout around Sfiso continues. It is made clear that he cannot simply walk away from what he has done without consequences. There has been serious harm caused, and the community and the family around him are not willing to let it slide. There are strong words about him needing to face what he has done rather than being protected or excused. Interestingly, the episode also raises a subtle point about Sfiso's state of mind during everything that happened, the suggestion that he may have been intoxicated when a lot of this unfolded. It does not excuse his behavior, but it does add a layer of nuance to how the community is processing what he did. It also ties into a wider thread about Shobane possibly influencing or being connected to Sfiso's downfall, though the show is deliberately vague about exactly how far that connection goes. That is clearly a thread we are meant to keep watching in the coming episodes. Switching gears, we check in on the Nkwanyoana family, where the drama around money and inheritance is still boiling. It turns out someone close to the family has been scammed by a fake tax scheme, and she is now at the police station trying to report both the scam and issues around her inheritance. It is a messy, emotional scene, a woman who has already lost money to a scammer, now trying to fight for what is rightfully hers within her own family, and not finding it easy. We also get more insight into the love connection between two characters on opposite sides of this financial mess, one of them apparently involved with the very scammer causing chaos on the other side of the story. It is one of those classic soap entanglements where personal relationships and financial betrayal collide, and it is clear the writers are setting up bigger fireworks for later episodes. There is real tension building around Vusi as well. He is shown behaving irresponsibly, chasing after money in a way that worries the people around him, and there are pointed comments about how his mother, Nkwanyoana, may not be handling the situation as well as she should. She is criticized for not making the smartest decisions when it comes to money, especially with a family already this fractured over finances. The episode strongly hints that this money fight is going to escalate, that Nkwanyoana wants to take back control of her funds, and that the people around her are not going to let that happen quietly. There is also a pointed moment where it is revealed Nkwanyoana is not fully at peace with the fact that Zethu was included in matters relating to the family's wealth while things were still being sorted out. It clearly still bothers her, and that resentment simmers under the surface of every money conversation she has. Then there is the storyline involving Zethu's father, Mr. Longwayne, which is honestly one of the more uncomfortable threads in the episode. He is shown scamming his own wife, manipulating her, and pushing her hard to hand over as much of her money as possible. It is framed very clearly as financial abuse within a marriage, a husband using guilt, pressure, and manipulation to strip his wife of her savings. She is left heartbroken by the realization of what he is really after, and the episode does not sugarcoat how painful that betrayal is for her. It is a hard storyline to watch, but is clearly meant to mirror the other money-driven betrayals happening elsewhere in the episode. Everyone, it seems, is fighting over who controls the money, and very few people are being honest about their real motives. Back on the marital front, things get even worse for Shobane and Maankobo. Now that Maankobo has been released from custody, Shobane actually tries to kick her out of their own home. She, understandably, refuses, reminding him plainly that it is her house too and that they are still legally married. Shobane's response is harsh. He tells her flatly that if she does not want to see more of him, she needs to leave. It nearly turns physical. Shobane raises his hand toward her, and even though he stops himself before actually hitting her, the moment lands hard. It is a genuinely disturbing scene, and it is clear the show wants us to sit with how frightening that moment is for Maankobo, even if nothing further happens physically. Forced out of her own home, she ends up having to sleep at the salon instead, a small but telling detail about just how far things have fallen apart between them. We also learn that Shobane has been leaning on his friend for support and possibly manipulation throughout this whole ordeal, even as his marriage crumbles. The bigger issue the episode seems to be raising is about trust, that instead of standing by his wife and believing her when she needed him most, Shobane chose suspicion and control. It is framed as a serious failure on his part as a husband, and it is left unclear exactly what he plans to say to try and win her back, if he even tries at all. By the end of the episode, there are more questions than answers, which is exactly what keeps this show so gripping. Is Zeta going to survive Shobane and the operation's attempt to keep her quiet? Will Shobane's feelings for her outweigh his loyalty to the illegal clinic that has clearly been paying him well? Can Maankobo and Garaji find Zeta before it is too late? And on the domestic front, will Maankobo ever be able to trust Shobane again after he chose to throw her out instead of standing by her? Then there is the slow-burning money war within the Nkanyana family, which shows no signs of cooling down, and the quiet devastation of Mr. Longwen's manipulation of his own wife, which feels like it is only going to escalate from here. This episode did a solid job of weaving together the investigative thriller energy of Zethu's storyline with the emotional weight of two very different marriages falling apart, all while keeping the simmering financial drama around the Nkanyana family bubbling in the background. It is one of those episodes that does not give you a clean resolution to anything, but instead sets up several storylines to explode in the days ahead. That is everything for today's Homecoming review. As always, let me know in the comments who you think is really going to save Zethu, whether Shobane still has it in him to do the right thing, and what you think is coming next for Maankobo and Shobane's marriage. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next update. See you in the next one. A note on sourcing: this recap was written from a rough, partially garbled auto-generated transcript rather than official broadcast footage or a verified script, and it has been rewritten and interpreted in original wording throughout. It should be treated as a dramatized, best effort recap rather than a verified factual account of the episode. I'd recommend confirming plot details against the actual broadcast before presenting this as an authoritative review, especially given the specific real-world air date in the title.